Today's session is about sustainability. Sustainability is a new word, is a new concept. A few years ago, it was a decade ago already, few people would have thought that it's a key issue to make sustainable how we live, our societies, our businesses. The question was always how to grow, how to compete, how to generate profit, but to be sustainable. Of course, one created a society, a company, and if the competitors do not make it difficult to exist and to go and make it go under, then the society that we created and the initiative that we created will continue. But to be initially, intrinsically unsustainable, that's a new concept. So let's look at unsustainability and this whole idea of sustainability, first of all. What is meant by that? What is to be sustainable? I would say how we live, how we act, how we produce, how we relate to each other, and last but not least, how we think. That's the key ultimately. If we don't think in terms of the need to and the challenge to become sustainable, then we won't be sustainable. Because competition is such in the modern world, in today's world, that it overcomes, it doesn't hesitate to do anything to win, to be the leader, to generate the first position, the pole position, wherever we compete, wherever we exist. And this kind of competition, no holds barred competition, which is really typically under the old paradigm, the old idea of we are here to survive, we are here to be strong, the fitness survives. And to be fit was to be the main idea, the purpose. Now it seems the latest information that comes according to this from the sciences, that to survive, we need finally, most of all, to be cooperative, to be flexible, to do it, to work together. We live on a small planet. It's becoming smaller and smaller because faster and faster that we cross the borders, that we move from one part of this planet to another. And what we do in one part of the planet affects the other parts. All this, according to the old way of thinking, is not sustainable. Because we all, if everybody would win, everybody would achieve what they want, which is at the expense of others, then the whole system would collapse. And we would need several planets more to accommodate all our wishes, all our ambitions. So here we are, having to learn that we live on a planet with finite resources, both intellectual and financial, human and natural. Nature is finite. The planet is finite. It's generous. We can do a lot with it, but it's not infinite. So what we want cannot be at the expense of the rest. It can only be working together with the rest. Sustainability is the same, to my mind, as peace, as understanding the need to join together to live on this planet and live in such a way that others can also live. We have not worried about that before. We want to live. The others will take care of themselves. Or it's kind of a naive belief in the power of the market, the idea that the market will take care of it. Somehow you'll distribute benefits. Of course, the market does that, but only if the playing field is level, only if there are equal chances for the competitors. Today, this is not the case. Some have a lot of all the chips in the hand to work with, all the power, financial power, even military power these days, and they rule, they dominate the market. And this becomes more and more uneven, more and more unequal. It has been said a few years ago that 20% of humanity owns all the resources and the money. I think it's even more so now today. The latest information is much more so. Now, always a smaller and smaller minority has the resources, financial as well as natural resources, and dominates what happens on the planet. To be sustainable, we have to even this out. We have to work in such a way, as I said, that we can all continue to exist. This is sustainability. Now, let me clear up one point that I think is very important and is not sufficiently emphasized. Rather, leave sustainability. What should be sustainable? This question was not asked before, very seldom. Of course, our company, our family, our society should be sustainable. Never mind the rest. No question that this is what we want to make sustainable. But what if the way this thing is structured, what if the way societies are structured in such a way that if they would all continue to operate the way they are operating now, the entire system would break down. That's a serious possibility. So to sustain the world as it is could be a very poor way to act. It could be to invite disaster, postpone the disaster, postpone the catastrophe, because we can gain short-term advantages for ourselves or around us. But in the long term, if we sustain ourselves and sustain our fellow beings, other societies, the way they are now, then the crisis that we now experience will become always deeper and deeper. Eventually, that system will break down. So what do I suggest? I suggest that instead of just plain simple sustainability, we should talk about evolutionary sustainability. Let me explain. Evolution means that things change in a predictable, in a given direction. Overall, on Earth, for example, the evolution is conducing to a more and more complex systems, such as mammals, such as human beings, more and more complex societies, from tribal societies to national societies to regional to global societies. So this project is, this process moves in a direction which is toward complexity and the integration of complexity in a sustainable way. So we need to see that the sustainability that we champion is not a short-term, narrowly framed sustainability, but the sustainability of the system in which we operate. We operate within a larger system. It can be the region, like Friuli, Venezia, Giulia, or Italy, or Europe, or the Western world, or humanity and the planet. These are all systems within systems, and at least the critical systems around us that spell the difference between life and between existence and disappearance. At least these systems are sustainable. That means they are sustainable even as they evolve for the better and not just stay the way they are. So I talk about evolutionary sustainability. Permit evolution to take place. Why do I say that? Because I believe that evolution toward integral, coherent, peaceful systems is part of the process. It's instilled, it's inspired in, it's manifested in us, in our thinking, in our life, in our consciousness, if we would only allow it to manifest. Nature is incredibly complex and incredibly sustainable and incredibly integrated. All things work together. There is short-term local conflict, obviously. That's part of moving toward higher and higher levels of existence and cooperation. But on the whole, the planet is a coherent system. If it was not, we would not be here. There are hotspots. Today, there are hotspots moving from one level to another. This system, the planetary system, is working itself toward a level where all humans, all societies are in contact and all have to learn to live and exist and produce and relate in such a way that others can do it as well. A big lesson. But this is the meaning of sustainability. Allow the intrinsic drive, intrinsic impetus toward us to work together, to join together and form systems, allow that impetus, the freedom to exist, the freedom to unfold so that we live together peacefully on this planet. Never before was this a survival imperative. Sustainability on this level that is not only sustainable as is, but sustainable as it can be, as it must be, as it should be. That is today the imperative. This world is unsustainable, not only financially, economically, but also in terms of the relationship of genders to each other. Still, women in the world are disadvantaged. Some societies more than in others. But there's a great need for more equality. Because what women bring to the table, to the critical table that will decide whether we survive and flourish or suffer crisis and go under. What women bring is essential. Women bring the idea of family, of community, of the hearth that we together live in and maintain, that we can take care of ourselves together in the context of other people taking care of their own hearth in their own family. Caring for each other is just as important as caring for ourselves. And today it's even more critical. We will not live a good life unless the life around us is also good for others. Women have this ability, feminine values. Men can also have feminine values, obviously, but typically women have them much more. This is no longer an era of going out and conquering, dominating nature, dominating others, vanquishing. This is no longer that era. We inhabited almost all parts of the world that is inhabitable. And the task is to make this a coherent, loving, peaceful, coordinated world, not a desperately seeking power or money and advantage-seeking world. Women have the ability to understand this and to do so, much more caring than men on the whole. Men have to implement, but women now have to conceive and to apprehend what we are, a planetary family, just learning to live together as a family should be with love and understanding. That is my message today. Establish evolutionary sustainability. Call on women to play a critical role in this attempt, in this endeavor. Men will follow, because we all have it in us. Deep down, we are all people ready to cooperate, ready to live together. We would not be here unless this was the case. But we're challenging it all the time. We are disregarding it all the time. It's time to wake up and to create a family of human beings on planet Earth, sustainably so, not just today, but also tomorrow. The idea is very clear what we need to do. But what does it actually mean in practice? It means to change. It means to shift. There are various ways to shift. You cannot shift sideways. That will remain the same you are. You either go down or go up. Either evolve or disappear. And going up means what I call the upshift. It's critical to upshift the right time in the right way. In my youth, I used to do a little competitive sports car driving. And I know how critical it was when you have to come to the right moment at the curve to downshift so that you can take the curve. And that when you're out of the curve and on the straight stretch again, then you're upshifting. Otherwise, you can't move fast enough. Learning how to live together with the road between under your feet or under your tires. I always felt that the car that I was driving becomes part of my body. It's a kind of an extension. I move through nature. I love to do it outside in nature, not in cities, obviously. And then to feel oneself one powerfully and fully in control, not for putting myself in, not to dominate anybody else. I didn't even like to compete with others in the racing, but only compete against the clock. That means against my own skills of driving. How fast can you do a given stretch? And how fast means being adjusted to the curves, to the straight stretches, to the banks on the road, to the bends, and making the most of it. So I say, time has come to upshift. We are passing through a period of critical change. And this kind of a crisis that we are passing through is the womb of progress. Real progress only occurs when there is a depth of questioning, a depth of will to renew present. And this is, I think, is coming about now. People are questioning. People are beginning to wake up. And the answer is, what do we want to do? What do we need to do? Shift up to the next level of our evolutionary development. We are here to create a planetary family where all people live in peace and in harmony. And they produce together so that all people can flourish and can fulfill the destiny of humankind, which is the destiny to bring consciousness to this corner of the universe, to flourish here as a conscious species. And we are about to realize that this is really a true mission. This is something that we need to fulfill, and time crisis is pushing us in that direction. It's unsustainable. The world is unsustainable as we have done it. So now we need to learn how to make the world sustainable. And that means peaceful, cooperative, and obeying the impetus that is with us to create integral, cooperative, complex systems. That's who we are as individuals. That's what our societies are. That's what humanity is. This is the last lesson. I think we are now learning it more and more. On the whole, I'm optimistic. I not only talk about these kind of issues willingly to whoever is willing to listen, I've also written about them. I try to document it, provide the evidence. This is something you cannot easily do just in a casual conversation, not even in a video conversation. You can do it in a published book. And I've written just this year, published 2 books, which are addressing exactly this problem. One is called The Survival Imperative. What it's about is obviously is there in the title. The imperative of our survival, which is what I've just said. It's peace, cooperation, harmony, learning to live together. And the other book is The Great Upshift. It's a compendium of 35 contributions by leading people, leading spiritual, political, business leaders, talking about what they think is a possibility for truly creating the next level of our development, where we can live together in peace and harmony on this planet. So it's an encyclopedia of the upshift. And I invite all our listeners, the society, the benefit society that is forming today, which is so welcome and so important. I invite these members to have a look at it. I'll be happy to arrange some ways to provide copies of their disposal. The Great Upshift and The Survival Imperative, both of them published by Light on Light Press. Thank you again for your attention.